If people can't feel the strength inside you, they will never trust the direction you're going. And if you don't master your mind, the world will gladly do it for you. That truth flips everything you think you know about self-control. You don't lose because you're not talented. You lose because your mind gets pulled, distracted, provoked, hijacked by noise you never learned to guard against. Every day, something tries to take the wheel. An email, a comment, a notification, a doubt. And before you realize it, your mind no longer belongs to you. It belongs to whatever shouted the loudest. Most people live this way. They react, they chase, they explain, they justify. They try to prove something to people who are barely paying attention, but people who win in silence, they follow a different path. They don't speak to impress, they speak to decide. They don't chase approval, they build authority. They don't let emotions drag them around. They guide themselves with clarity and timing. Because real power isn't loud. Real power is controlled. Real power is precise. Real power is silent. And that's the difference. Most people let their minds run wild. Leaders master it. And when you master your mind, everything else in your life finally stops controlling you. In the next 90 minutes, you're not here to be hyped. You're not here for motivation that fades tomorrow morning. You're here to build internal architecture, the kind that holds steady when everything around you shakes. You'll learn how to quiet the noise that drains your focus, how to hold your ground under pressure, how to respond instead of react, how to operate from standards, not moods, and how to rise without announcing every step you take. You'll walk through 10 chapters, each one built on a simple structure: the problem, the principle, the picture, the practice, the 2-minute test, the punchline. You'll hear the truth, you'll see yourself in the examples, and you'll walk out with tools you can use the moment this audio ends. Chapter 1. Recognize the noise. Chapter 2. Build mental stillness. Chapter 3. Train your inner authority. Chapter 4. Control emotional impulse. Chapter 5. Strengthen focus. Chapter 6. Stop seeking validation. Chapter 7. Create a silent discipline system. Chapter 8. Lead yourself under pressure. Chapter 9. Protect your energy. Chapter 10. Win in silence, rise in public. Each chapter sharpens a different part of your mind. Each one trains a muscle you've ignored for years. Each one brings you closer to the version of you who moves with intention instead of noise, who acts without needing applause, who stays centered when others break, who becomes unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be bigger. You don't need to be dramatic. You need to be clear, steady, precise. You need to stop fighting every distraction and start mastering the force that creates all of your actions, your mind. This journey starts from the inside, and it stays inside until the results speak on your behalf. You don't need more. You need stronger. You need clearer. You need you under control. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Recognize the noise. Most people lose their day in the first 60 seconds. They don't notice it because it's so quiet, so familiar, so normal that it blends into the background like air conditioning in a hotel room. Americans especially are conditioned to start the day by reacting to their phone, to their inbox, to the world pulling them toward urgency they never agreed to. Before their coffee even brews, their mindset, their focus, and their emotional tone have already been hijacked. You're not failing, you're overwhelmed, and the worst part is that most people blame themselves. They think they lack discipline. They think they're lazy. They think they're distracted because something is wrong with them. But the truth is harsher and more freeing. What's pulling their mind isn't weakness, it's noise. 1,000 tiny inputs shaping thoughts they never consciously chose. 1,000 small jolts that keep the mind in a constant state of low-grade chaos. 1,000 signals that weaken clarity and steal calm. Noise destroys more dreams than fear ever will. The notifications, the alerts, the opinions, the pressure to answer instantly. the constant stimulation dressed up as connection. This is the pain no one talks about, the pain of living in a mind that never gets a moment of silence. When your attention is split, your emotions scatter. When your emotions scatter, your decisions shake. When your decisions shake, your confidence collapses. A mind led by noise can't lead a life, and recognizing that truth is the first step toward taking it back. Awareness is the beginning of mastery. Not discipline, not motivation, not grit. Awareness. Because you can't control what you don't see. You can't fight what lives in the blind spots. You can't rise above noise you haven't learned to name. But the moment you see it, not just notice it, but truly understand how deeply it shapes your day, you break the spell. Noise is most powerful when it's invisible. Picture 2 mornings. In the first morning, someone wakes up, reaches for their phone immediately, and scrolls without even realizing their breathing has changed. Their body is awake, but their mind is already tense. They see a coworker's message and feel the familiar pressure to respond. They see the news and absorb a world of anxiety that doesn't belong to them. They see a friend's achievement and feel small for no reason. Their morning becomes a battlefield before they even stand up. This is how most Americans start their day, already behind. Now imagine the second morning. Same person, same responsibilities, same life. But instead of grabbing the phone, they stay still for 10 seconds. They breathe. They look around. They connect with the room, with the moment, with themselves. No input, no pressure, no pull. The silence isn't empty. It's stabilizing. It sets the internal tone before the world tries to overwrite it. The world didn't change. The relationship to the world did. That is the picture of mastery. Not a quieter life, but a quieter mind inside the same life. Noise is not always loud. In American culture especially, it is subtle. It hides inside your habits. It lives in your impulses. It shows up as a quick check that turns into a chain of distraction. Most people don't realize how deeply conditioned they are until they try to sit in silence and feel the immediate pull to grab something, anything, to escape stillness. That pull is the noise revealing itself. The pull you feel is not you. It's your conditioning. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. To reclaim authority over your mind, you need practice. Clean, structured, deliberate practice. Start by naming your 5 biggest noise sources. Don't soften it. Don't pretend it's not that bad. Be direct. The apps that drain you. The people who emotionally overload you. The news cycles that rob your peace. The habits that hijack your brain. Naming them is a declaration of sovereignty. Then reclaim your mornings. Americans are taught to rise and grind, to jump into the day fast, to answer everything instantly, to always be available. That culture kills clarity. Guard the first 10 minutes of your consciousness like your future depends on it, because it does. 10 minutes of stillness recalibrates your entire nervous system. It restores control before the world has a chance to steal it. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. Use one screen at a time, one window, one direction, one focus. Multitasking is a lie. America sold itself in the 90s. It never worked. It only fractured attention and made people feel incompetent. Your mind wants linear movement, not scattered chaos. Give it the structure it's built for. Then, learn to catch the mental pull, the sudden urge to check something, the impulse to escape the moment, the thought that says, just 1 second. That impulse is the strongest form of noise because it feels personal. But it's simply a conditioned reflex. When you notice the impulse instead of obeying it, you take back authority. Language matters too. Weak words create weak focus. Your self-talk must become cleaner and stricter. Cut phrases like, maybe, I'll just check, just 1 minute. Replace them with, not now. Stay here. small commands. Strong impact. Internal authority begins with internal language, and now the real work begins. Not with action, but with honesty. Ask yourself, what noise controls my attention the most? What distraction has become so normal I forgot it was optional? What part of my day would transform instantly if I protected my mind instead of opening it to everything? These questions aren't academic, they're personal. They expose the truth behind your daily frustration. They reveal how much of your emotional exhaustion is not coming from your responsibilities, but from the unfiltered noise bleeding into your mind. Your mind was never weak, it was crowded. Mastery begins the moment you stop surrendering your attention for free. When you stop waking up reactive. When you stop letting the world decide your emotional tone. When you choose silence before stimulation, presence before pressure, awareness before action. Noise is the first enemy of self-mastery. Awareness is the first weapon. And once you see the noise, really see it, you're no longer owned by it. You are no longer pushed by it. You are no longer shaped by it. You finally begin leading your mind instead of chasing your thoughts. See the noise, or be ruled by it. Chapter 2. Build mental stillness. A restless mind can't lead you anywhere worth going. Most people don't realize how rarely they experience stillness. Even when they're alone, even when the room is quiet, even when nothing demands their attention, their thoughts are loud, fast, scattered. The mind runs like a machine that never turns off. It jumps from one imagined problem to another. It replays old conversations. It anticipates future worry. It searches for stimulation out of habit, not need. And in American culture especially, constant mental activity is confused with productivity. But busy is not the same as in control. If your mind never slows down, it will eventually break down. This constant inner noise creates a deep, invisible pain. You feel tired even after sleeping. You feel overwhelmed even when nothing is wrong. You feel tense for no clear reason. You feel pulled into anxieties that never actually materialize. And because this state has become so normal for so many people, they think it's simply who they are. I'm an overthinker. I'm anxious. My mind never stops. But overthinking isn't identity. It's overstimulation. It's untrained attention. It's a mind that was never taught how to be still. Stillness is not the absence of thought. Stillness is the absence of pull. And here is the principle that reshapes everything that follows. Stillness is a skill, not a mood. You don't wait to feel calm. You build calm. You train it. You reinforce it. You develop it the same way you build muscle, through repetition and deliberate practice. The people who stay composed in chaos are not naturally gifted. They are trained. They've learned to build space between stimulus and reaction. They've learned to hold themselves steady when the world around them shakes. Calm is not nature. Calm is discipline. Picture a lake on a windy day. The surface ripples, breaks, splashes. Everything is unstable. You can't see the reflection of anything clearly. That's most people's minds, disturbed by every gust of thought, every distraction, every piece of noise entering too quickly. Now picture the same lake at dawn. The surface is glass. The sky sits perfectly on the water's reflection. That clarity isn't from a different lake. It's from a different state. A still mind works the same way. When it settles, everything becomes visible. The answer you couldn't find appears. The emotion you couldn't name becomes clear. The decision you kept avoiding becomes obvious. A calm mind sees what a chaotic mind can't. Now imagine a firefighter stepping into smoke. They orient, they breathe, they anchor their attention before they take the next step. Their calm is not passive, it is tactical. It is what keeps them alive. Your inner world works the same way. Stillness is not softness. Stillness is strategy. To build stillness, you need rituals, not wishes. The first is breath, not dramatic meditation, not spiritual performance, just breath. Controlled, grounded, deliberate breath. Americans often underestimate breathing because it seems too simple, too basic. But the nervous system doesn't care about complexity. It cares about signals. When you slow your breath, you slow your mind. When you slow your mind, you regain control. Use the 4-4-4 method. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds. Do it 3 times, 36 seconds total. It resets your entire internal state. It places your attention back in your body, not in your thoughts. It gives you a moment of authority in a day full of demands. Breath is the steering wheel of your mind. Next, create a daily moment of what I call mind parking. 5 minutes. Sit. No phone, no talking, no input. Your only job is to let your thoughts settle the way dust settles when a room becomes still. You don't chase thoughts. You don't judge thoughts. You simply let them land. If you practice this consistently, you will notice something profound. Your mind begins to obey you instead of dragging you. Then label your thoughts, not emotionally, not dramatically, calmly. When a thought arises, worry, memory, fear, task, you name it like you're categorizing files. This is what monks, elite athletes, and high-pressure professionals all train. Separation. When you name a thought, you are no longer inside it. You are observing it, and observation creates freedom. Stillness doesn't require isolation. You don't need a cabin in the mountains. You need micro pauses throughout your day. When stress spikes, take 3 seconds. Put your right foot flat on the floor. Feel it. This grounds your attention instantly. When tension rises, relax your jaw. Tension lives there. When overwhelm hits, look at one object in the room and breathe once. These small habits create internal space when your mind tries to collapse. Small pauses build big control, but stillness isn't only about adding calm. It's about eliminating what disrupts it. Remove overstimulation. Set boundaries with people who unload their chaos onto you. Reduce unnecessary alerts. Limit the news to intentional windows. Protect your emotional bandwidth the same way you would protect your physical space. One of the biggest sources of mental restlessness in American culture is the constant need to be reachable. Messages, emails, notifications, replies. Ping me if you need anything. This open-door policy destroys stillness. You can't be constantly available and mentally grounded at the same time. Choose one. Turn off non-essential alerts. Let people wait. Instant is not a requirement of a healthy mind. If everything can reach you, nothing is truly yours. Now ask yourself the questions that reveal your internal landscape. What situations make my mind feel the loudest? What emotions do I avoid by staying constantly busy? When was the last time I truly felt present in my own body? These questions aren't for your brain, they're for your awareness. They pull hidden truths to the surface. They expose the emotional noise behind the mental noise. Many people fear stillness because silence reveals what they've been running from, but facing that truth is the beginning of inner authority. Stillness doesn't eliminate emotion. It lets you feel it without drowning. It lets you process without spiraling. It lets you act without reacting. That is why stillness is not passive. It is powerful. It turns emotional storms into signals. It turns inner chaos into information. It turns the mind from a battlefield into a command center. A still mind makes strong choices. A chaotic mind makes loud ones. And here is the beauty. You don't need perfection to build stillness. You need consistency. 5 minutes today, 3 seconds tomorrow, 1 breath during stress. That's how mental strength is built. Not in grand gestures, but in quiet repetitions. Stillness is a language your mind must relearn. Silence is a territory you must reclaim. Presence is a muscle you must train. And the moment you choose to build it, really build it, you create a foundation strong enough to handle anything life throws at you. Because in the end, stillness is not escape. Stillness is control. Chapter 3. Train your inner authority. If you don't lead your mind, someone else will. Look around at how most people live. Their decisions are shaped by opinions they didn't ask for. Their choices are influenced by fears they inherited. Their identity bends under the pressure of other people's expectations. They adjust themselves to fit rooms that don't respect them. They silence their truth to avoid discomfort. And with every small compromise, they lose a little more of themselves. Most people obey the world more than they obey their own voice. This creates a deep, invisible pain. One Americans feel constantly, but rarely acknowledge. It's the tension between who they are and who they perform as. It's the exhaustion of pretending. It's the quiet resentment of living under other people's approval. And it's the fear that choosing themselves will cost them belonging. That fear is powerful enough to control entire lives. But there is a truth even stronger than that fear. Authority begins within. Not in volume, not in confidence, not in charisma. In ownership, owning your standards, your direction, your identity. People who have inner authority don't move loudly. They move decisively. They don't react to pressure. They respond with clarity. They don't ask for permission to be who they are. They stand firmly in it. And the world feels that. Authority isn't something you project. It's something you radiate. People trust a mind that trusts itself. Picture someone walking into a meeting. They speak quickly, explaining every opinion, justifying every point, scanning the room to see if people approve. Their tone rises. Their shoulders tighten. Their words become shaky because they're not speaking from themselves. They're speaking for acceptance. Every sentence is a negotiation for validation. Now picture someone else. Same room, same people, same stakes. But this person speaks slower. They're not rushed. They're not trying to fill silence. They're not scanning for approval. Their sentences are clean. Their tone is grounded. Their presence changes the room because they aren't performing. They're anchored. They don't try to impress. They don't defend unnecessarily. They choose their words from conviction, not fear. Authority isn't loud. Authority is steady. Or imagine a soldier in training. The drill instructor isn't teaching them how to shout. They're teaching them how to stand, how to hold their body, how to breathe under pressure, how to stay composed when adrenaline rises. Inner authority works the same way. It is not performance. It is posture. It is the discipline of remaining yourself when the world tries to shake you. But authority doesn't appear by accident. It's built, slowly, intentionally, repeatedly. You train your inner authority the way you train a muscle. Start by choosing 3 standards you refuse to negotiate. Not 10, not 20. 3. They must be simple, personal, and rooted in identity, not outcome. For example, I speak honestly. I honor my decisions. I don't rush my words. These are not goals. They are rules you live by. Each one is a line you don't cross, even when pressured. Americans often build their identity around achievements, but authority is built around standards, practiced daily, with or without witnesses. Next, practice the one decision without explaining rule. Once per day, make a decision and do not justify it. Don't over-explain. Don't soften it. Don't ask for approval. Say it clean. Say it steady, and move on. This trains your nervous system to stop seeking permission. Every time you over-explain, you teach yourself that your voice isn't enough. Then anchor your presence with slower speech. Not dramatic. Not forced. Just slower. Quick speech signals insecurity to the brain, your own and others. Slower speech communicates ownership. It tells your mind you're not in danger. Americans respond strongly to pace. It's a subconscious indicator of emotional authority. Slow down. Let your words land. Let silence do some of the talking. And when judgment comes, because it will, do not collapse. People project their fears onto anyone who chooses themselves. They resist anyone who breaks social conditioning. They mock what they don't understand. But judgment only has power when you absorb it. Let people feel wrong about you. Let them misread you. Let them misunderstand. You don't need to correct every opinion. Authority doesn't chase misunderstanding. You lead yourself. You don't audition for acceptance. Now ask yourself the questions that most people avoid their entire lives. What decisions do I delay because I fear what others might think? Who am I trying to impress, and why? Where have I abandoned myself to keep someone else comfortable? These questions expose the cracks in your internal foundation. They reveal where external influence has taken command. And only by seeing those cracks can you rebuild the structure of your authority. Inner authority doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean ignoring others. It doesn't mean being unapproachable. It means you make decisions from identity, not insecurity. From standards, not pressure. From clarity, not noise. When you embody that, people feel it. They sense your steadiness. They sense your boundaries. They sense your conviction, even when you say nothing. Authority isn't what you say, it's the energy behind how you say it. And here is the truth that will follow you far beyond this chapter. Inner authority is not proven. It is practiced. It is built in small, consistent moments where you choose yourself, especially when it's easier not to. You practice it when you say no, calmly. When you speak slowly, when you don't rush to explain, when you don't apologize for existing, when you choose your pace instead of matching someone else's, when you hold your ground without hostility, when you give yourself permission instead of waiting for it. Every one of those moments adds weight to your presence. Everyone strengthens the spine of your identity. Everyone deepens the foundation you stand on. And when the foundation is solid, you are no longer moved by noise, judgment, pressure, or opinion. You become the quiet center that everything else rotates around. A mind that obeys itself becomes unshakable. That is inner authority. Not force, not dominance, not performance. Control. And it all begins and ends with one truth. Lead your mind first, or you will never lead anything at all. Chapter 4. Control emotional impulse. If you can't control your impulse, someone else can control your life. Most people don't realize how often emotion, not logic, makes their decisions for them. They get triggered, they react instantly, and only afterward do they realize the cost. One rude comment ruins their entire day. One sudden fear stops them from taking the next step. One unexpected problem sends them into panic mode. One moment of anger destroys a conversation that didn't need to be broken. Impulse is the fastest way to sabotage your own progress, and it happens silently. Americans especially are trained to speak your mind, stand up for yourself, say what you feel. But feelings are unstable. They move, they spike, they crash, they distort reality. And if you let them lead without supervision, they will drag you into decisions you can't undo. Emotion is real, reaction is optional. This is the quiet pain many people live with. Being pulled by their own emotional storms. They hate how quickly they snap. They regret the things they say. They overthink what others think of them. They shut down when overwhelmed. They spiral when stressed. And in the moment, it feels automatic, like they have no choice. But they do. You do. You always do. And that leads to the principle that shifts everything. Reaction is weakness. Response is power. A reaction is instant. A response is chosen. A reaction is impulse. A response is clarity. A reaction is controlled by emotion. A response is controlled by identity. When you create space between what you feel and what you do, you take back authority over your life. Mastery lives in the space between stimulus and action. Picture two people in the same situation. The first gets criticized at work. Their chest tightens. Their ego flares. Their pulse spikes. Without thinking, they defend themselves. They talk too fast. Their voice rises. Their words sharpen and shake at the same time. Emotion takes the wheel, and afterward, they replay everything, embarrassed and frustrated. Now picture the second person. Same criticism, same tension, same pressure. But they pause. Not long, just long enough to breathe. They anchor themselves. They slow their speech. They respond with steadiness instead of fire. They don't collapse. They don't attack. They hold their position without losing composure. The difference isn't the moment, it's the mastery. Or imagine a parent trying to calm a child who's screaming in a grocery store. The parent who reacts will snap, rush, raise their voice, and escalate the chaos. But the parent who controls their impulse lowers their tone, sits in calmness, and slowly brings the child back into stability. The child mirrors the parent's state. The mind works the same way. You guide it by the tone you hold. When you stay calm, your mind follows. Emotional impulse is not your enemy. Untrained impulse is. To control it, you need skill, not suppression, not avoidance, but skill. Start with the 3-second pause. When emotion floods your body, your nervous system spikes. Those 3 seconds interrupt the automatic pattern. They pull you out of your reaction body and into your thinking mind. During those seconds, inhale slowly. Feel your feet. Say nothing. This short delay can save you hours, days, or months of consequences. A 3-second pause can protect your entire life. Next, label the emotion. Not dramatically, not philosophically. Simply name it. Anger. Fear. Frustration. Shame. When you name the emotion, you separate yourself from it. You're no longer inside the storm, you're observing it. The moment you observe an emotion, its power weakens. And when it weakens, you can guide it instead of obeying it. Then shift into what I call inverse thinking. Ask yourself, will this matter in 24 hours? Most emotional impulses lose all meaning when viewed through time. Anger that feels explosive now becomes trivial tomorrow. Fear that feels overwhelming today becomes irrelevant next week. This question pulls you out of emotional time, where everything feels urgent, and brings you into rational time, where things become clearer. Emotion exaggerates, time exposes. To control impulse even further, master your tone. Americans respond strongly to tone, even more than meaning. If you slow your tone, lower your volume, and reduce your pace, your body will follow, your emotions will follow, your thoughts will follow. Tone is not just communication, it is regulation. And here's something most people never learn. You don't have to respond instantly. Silence is an answer. Pausing is an answer. Breathing is an answer. Impulse is born from urgency. Authority is born from patience. You don't owe anyone your immediate reaction. Next, practice emotional distance. When a challenging moment comes, imagine stepping back mentally 3 feet from the situation. See it as if it's happening to someone else. This creates objective distance, and distance gives you clarity. Then build emotional conditioning. Put yourself in small stress situations on purpose. Cold showers, timed tasks, controlled physical discomfort. These experiences strengthen your nervous system. The stronger your nervous system is, the less likely you are to be thrown by sudden emotion. If you train your mind under mild stress, it stabilizes under real stress. But perhaps the most important practice is this. Stop explaining your emotion to everyone. Stop apologizing endlessly for how you feel. Stop giving people access to your inner world when they haven't earned it. Keep your emotional process sacred. Share selectively, not constantly. This builds inner authority, and inner authority calms emotional chaos. Now ask yourself the questions that reveal how impulse controls your life. What emotion controls me the quickest? What patterns do I repeat when I'm triggered? What do I regret most after reacting impulsively? These questions expose the truth you need to face. Your reactions are habits, not destiny. They can be changed, they can be trained, they can be mastered. And when you master them, the world responds to you differently. People take you more seriously. They trust your judgment. They feel your steadiness. They sense your control. Your presence becomes heavier, calmer, more grounded. People follow the person who stays calm when everyone else breaks. Mastering emotional impulse doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you powerful. It makes you intentional. It makes you unshakable. Because the person who controls their reaction controls the moment, and the person who controls the moment controls the outcome. Feel everything. React to nothing. Chapter 5. Strengthen. Focus. Your focus is your most valuable currency, and the world is constantly trying to steal it. Most people don't lose focus because they're incapable. They lose it because everything around them is designed to fracture it. Apps are engineered to hijack attention. Notifications are crafted to trigger dopamine. Companies fight for mental real estate. Even friends and family demand instant responses, instant availability, instant attention. In America especially, distraction has become a culture, normalized, monetized, and masked as staying connected. You can't build a powerful life with a scattered mind. This is the silent pain of modern life, feeling mentally exhausted without doing anything meaningful. People jump between tasks, screens, conversations, and commitments until their brain feels like a browser with 50 tabs open, all slowing each other down, and they mistake mental overload for productivity. They mistake busyness for progress. They mistake chaos for effort. But here's the truth you can't ignore. Focus isn't something you find. Focus is something you protect. A focused mind is not a gift. It's a fortress, built intentionally, reinforced daily, guarded ruthlessly. Without protection, your attention leaks. With protection, your attention sharpens. Picture this. Someone sitting down to work. They open their laptop, check one email, switch to their phone, scroll for a minute, jump to another tab, half-read a message, click on a notification, and suddenly, 20 minutes disappear. They didn't choose distraction. Distraction chose them. Their mind never entered deep work. They existed in mental static. Now picture someone else. They sit down. They put their phone out of sight. They open one tab, one task, one direction. Their breathing slows. Their mind enters a tunnel, and their world narrows to a single point, the work in front of them. They move with intention. They think with clarity. They produce with depth. The gap between these two people isn't intelligence, it's protection. Or imagine holding a magnifying glass under the sun. Unfocused, the light feels warm. Focused, it can burn through wood. That is your mind. Scattered, it's soft. Focused, it's unstoppable. To strengthen focus, discipline isn't enough. You need strategy, practical, repeatable strategy. Begin with a 90-minute deep work block. One task, one mission, no switching, no checking quickly. The American work culture glorifies multitasking, but multitasking is a myth. You don't do two things well, you do two things poorly. Deep work is the opposite. It's the commitment to depth over speed, to quality over chaos, to intention over impulse. Depth is a superpower in a world addicted to shallow attention. Next, eliminate your top 3 daily distractions. Not all of them, just the top 3. Identify them clearly. Your phone, social media, email pings, the coworker who interrupts, the habit of jumping between screens. Remove or reduce these 3, and your productivity will double without extra effort. Then apply the single mission rule. Every morning, define one mission that, if completed, makes the day successful, even if everything else fails. Americans drown in endless to-do lists, confusing volume with progress. But real progress is built through one decisive, high-impact action per day. After that, control your environment. Not perfectly, deliberately. A cluttered digital space creates a cluttered mind. Clean your desktop, close tabs, silence notifications. Put your phone away from your body. Your environment should push you into focus, not pull you out of it. Make your environment serve your mind, not sabotage it. Then train yourself to tolerate boredom. This is where most people fail. They mistake boredom for a signal to switch tasks. But boredom is the gateway to deep concentration. Sit in it. Let it pass. What follows boredom is immersion, and immersion is where mastery lives. And when your mind drifts, because it will, don't shame yourself. Simply return to the task without commentary. This is mental strength, the ability to return, again and again, calmly, without frustration, without self-judgment. Every return is a rep. Every rep strengthens your mental muscle. Now ask yourself the questions that expose the truth behind your scattered attention. What steals my focus the fastest? What tasks do I avoid by seeking distraction? What would my life look like if I gave my best attention to the things that actually matter? These questions aren't academic. They're revealing. They show you the cracks in your attention system. They reveal the habits you've normalized. They expose the small leaks draining your potential. Focus is not about doing more. Focus is about doing what matters with your full mind. And when you strengthen it, truly strengthen it, you'll notice changes far beyond productivity. You'll feel more present, more grounded, more confident, more in control of your pace, your choices, your energy. People will sense your intention. They will respect your boundaries. They will feel the weight of your attention when you give it. A focused person becomes magnetic, not because they try to be, but because clarity itself is attractive. And as your focus sharpens, life simplifies. Decisions become easier, emotions become calmer, work becomes deeper, relationships become richer, the noise fades, the signal strengthens. A scattered life reflects a scattered mind. A powerful life reflects a focused one. Strengthening your focus won't just make you more productive, it will make you more powerful, because the person who controls their attention controls their direction, and the person who controls their direction controls their destiny. Guard your focus like it's gold, because it is. Chapter 6. Stop seeking validation. The fastest way to lose yourself is to chase approval from everyone else. Most people don't realize how deeply they're controlled by the need to be liked, praised, understood, agreed with, or accepted. It shapes their tone. It shapes their choices. It shapes their identity. They filter every action through an invisible audience that never stops watching. And because of that, they live their entire lives performing instead of being. Approval is a drug, and most people are addicted without knowing it. This addiction creates a quiet, heavy pain. You bend yourself to avoid disappointment. You silence your voice to avoid judgment. You pretend to be smaller to avoid making others uncomfortable. And every time you do this, a piece of you dissolves. Americans feel this intensely, especially in a culture built on social performance, curated identities, and constant comparison. But here's the truth. People-pleasing is self-betrayal wearing polite clothing. When you chase validation, you hand over your inner authority. You allow strangers to decide your worth. You let temporary opinions shape long-term identity. You let comments determine your confidence. You let silence dictate your value. And none of it is stable. The people who praise you today can ignore you tomorrow. The people who clap for you can also criticize you. External validation is unpredictable, inconsistent, and temporary. What is built on approval will collapse with criticism. Picture someone scrolling through social media. They post something, then immediately check who liked it, who commented, who viewed it. Their emotional state rises and falls with every notification. They don't realize it, but they're being trained like a lab animal, conditioned to crave digital approval to feel significant. Their identity becomes currency in a marketplace of opinions. Now picture someone else. They post or don't post. They don't need it. They speak when needed, not for attention. They move quietly, with grounded confidence. They don't scan the room for reactions. They don't shrink when misunderstood. Their validation system is internal, not outsourced. A person who validates themselves becomes untouchable. Or imagine walking into a room. The people pleaser scans the faces, searching for signs of acceptance or rejection. Their nervous system becomes hypervigilant. Their energy shifts depending on the room's response. But the person with internal validation, they walk in, and their presence sets the tone. They don't bend, they don't chase, they don't adjust their identity based on who's watching. Approval follows people who don't seek it. To break the validation habit, you need practice, not theories, not wishful thinking. Practice. Start with the no explanation decision. Once a day, make a choice and don't justify it. Not with "I'm sorry." Not with "I hope you don't mind." Not with "does that make sense?" Say your decision clearly, calmly, and completely. Then stop talking. Americans often over-explain because they're conditioned to soften themselves, but authority grows when explanations shrink. Every time you over-explain, you weaken your presence. Next, create private wins, achievements that no one else knows about. Something you do only for you, a commitment you keep without announcing it. Most people show their progress online because they want validation more than discipline. But growth becomes stronger when it's private. It becomes real when it doesn't need applause. Then practice delayed announcing. When starting something new, a habit, a project, a transformation, don't tell anyone for 30 days. This builds inner confidence and eliminates the pressure of external eyes. Americans often announce goals before they begin because approval feels safer than commitment. But real growth happens in silence. Build quietly, reveal slowly, move confidently. Another technique: refuse to answer at least one opinion-based question. When someone asks, "Do you think this is okay?" or "Do you think I should?" don't seek alignment. Give your honest answer without adjusting to avoid disapproval. This strengthens your internal spine. Most people weaken themselves by trying to be agreeable. Then separate identity from image. Who you are versus how you're seen. Image is fragile. Identity is foundational. Image depends on trends. Identity depends on values. When you live from identity, validation becomes optional. Now ask yourself 3 questions. Who am I trying to impress? And why? What part of me changes to make others comfortable? Where did I learn that I need approval to feel safe? These questions reveal emotional attachments you didn't know were running your life. They expose the patterns you follow without thinking. They show you where your self-worth leaks out. Self-respect grows when approval is no longer the goal. Your relationship with validation changes the moment you realize this. People don't think about you as much as you fear they do. They're busy. They're distracted. They're focused on their own insecurities. The judgment you're afraid of lives mostly in your imagination. And even when people do judge you, judgment cannot touch someone rooted in their own identity. It becomes background noise, heard but irrelevant. When you stop chasing approval, you free your mind, you free your energy, you free your creativity, you free your decisions, you free your future. And ironically, the moment you stop needing validation, people begin to respect you more. They may not always like you, but they will feel the weight of your presence. They will sense your independence. They will respond to your clarity, because confidence borrowed from others disappears. Confidence built from within lasts. Approval is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. In the end, everything comes down to one truth: sharp, simple, unavoidable. If you want freedom, stop seeking permission. Chapter 7. Create a silent discipline system. Motivation is loud. Discipline is silent. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they take action. They wait to feel ready. They wait for inspiration. They wait for the perfect moment. But that moment never comes. Life moves. Emotions shift. Energy dips. And the window closes before they ever begin. This is why most people stay stuck. They live reactively, not systematically. If you rely on motivation, you will lose every time. The real pain is this: People blame themselves for inconsistency when the truth is simple. They don't have a system. They depend on mood instead of structure. They depend on hype instead of identity. They depend on excitement instead of standards. And when the feeling fades, their progress collapses. Americans especially face this trap, living in a culture obsessed with grind energy, one moment and burnout the next. But here's the truth that separates consistent people from everyone else. Discipline isn't about force. It's about architecture. You don't wake up disciplined. You build discipline, and you build it silently. One rule, one habit, one standard at a time, without announcing it, without celebrating it, without seeking applause. What grows in silence becomes unbreakable. Picture someone who lives chaotically. They start working out, then disappear. They journal for 2 days, then stop. They set goals, then forget. Their life feels like a series of resets, always restarting, never stabilizing. They think they are the problem, but the problem isn't them. It's their lack of structure. Now picture someone else. Same responsibilities, same time constraints, same unpredictability of life. But they follow a simple, quiet, consistent system. No drama, no hype, no noise, just steady execution. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Or imagine a military base at 5 a.m. The world is asleep, but soldiers move with precision. Not because they feel inspired, but because the structure carries them. The routine removes guesswork. That is the power of a silent system. It makes the hard thing automatic. To build your silent discipline system, start small. People fail because they build discipline like a monument instead of a brick wall. They go big, fast, loud, and collapse under the weight of unrealistic expectations. But discipline grows in simplicity. Choose one non-negotiable habit for the next 30 days. Not 3, not 5. 1. Something small enough to complete daily and strong enough to shift your identity. Small disciplines create massive confidence. Next, practice the 2-minute rule. Any habit that takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Drink water, wash 1 dish, write 1 sentence, clean 1 corner. This rule removes resistance. It eliminates mental negotiation. It teaches your brain that action is faster than avoidance. In American life, where procrastination is normalized, this tiny rule is a weapon. Then track only actions, not outcomes. Outcomes take time. Actions happen today. When you focus on results, you feel discouraged. When you focus on action, you feel in control. Keep your system shockingly simple. Did I execute today? Yes or no? No emotion, no story, no mental drama. Discipline thrives in simplicity, not complexity. Another key to silent discipline: create friction for your weaknesses and reduce friction for your strengths. If your weakness is scrolling, put your phone in another room when you work. If your strength is morning energy, schedule your hardest tasks for that time. Most people fight their weaknesses endlessly. Discipline becomes easier when you outsmart them instead. Then adopt silence over sharing. Don't announce your habits. Don't tell people your plans. Don't broadcast your goals. Keep them private. When Americans share goals online, the validation they receive tricks their brain into feeling like the goal is already accomplished. Keep your system in the dark until the results are undeniable. Build privately. Reveal publicly. Also create one anchor habit. This is the habit that signals the start of your disciplined state. Maybe making your bed, a cold shower, a short stretch, or writing 1 sentence. Anchor habits trigger identity. When you do them, your brain shifts into a higher level of self-respect. They are small, but they flip the mental switch from passive to intentional. And when you slip, and you will, return immediately. Don't spiral. Don't shame yourself. Don't rebuild from scratch. 1 return is stronger than 10 perfect days. This is how disciplined people stay disciplined. They shorten the distance between failure and restart. The faster you return, the stronger you become. Now ask yourself the questions that expose your relationship with discipline. What habit do I break the fastest, and why? Where do I rely on motivation instead of structure? What would my life look like with 1 month of silent consistency? These questions reveal the emotional truth behind your inconsistency. They show you where your energy leaks. They show you the behaviors you've been hiding behind. And they show you the gap between who you are and who you could be with a system. Because once you build a silent discipline system, everything changes. You no longer need hype. You no longer chase momentum. You no longer negotiate with procrastination. You become the kind of person whose actions speak without noise. People notice, not because you talk about discipline, but because your life reflects it. A silent system becomes a silent engine. A silent engine becomes silent strength. Silent strength becomes unshakable identity. Discipline doesn't make you louder. It makes you undeniable. And it all comes down to one truth. Stay consistent in silence, and the results will speak for you. Chapter 8. Lead yourself under pressure. Pressure doesn't create your character. It exposes it. Most people collapse under pressure, not because they're weak, but because they never learned how to lead themselves when everything around them becomes loud, urgent, or unpredictable. Their emotions take over, their breath shortens, their thoughts scatter. They make fast decisions just to escape discomfort. They speak too quickly, they overreact, they freeze. They crumble under the weight of the moment instead of controlling it. A pressured mind becomes a panicked mind when untrained, and the pain is real. Americans live inside constant pressure, deadlines, bills, expectations, family demands, unpredictable work environments, and the fear of failing publicly. The stress builds quietly until even small challenges feel overwhelming. Pressure becomes the default, not the exception. But here's the truth. Pressure doesn't break you. Mismanagement of pressure does. And the solution isn't to remove pressure, it's to learn how to lead yourself through it. Every high-performing human, soldiers, surgeons, firefighters, athletes, CEOs, shares one skill: the ability to stay composed when the stakes rise. They don't wait for calm, they create it. They don't let emotion take the wheel. They hold the wheel themselves. You're either led by pressure or you lead yourself through it. Picture someone in a stressful moment. Their heart rate spikes. Their hands tighten. Their thoughts race. They speak faster. They act from fear instead of clarity. The pressure owns them. Every second that passes, the moment gets heavier. And long after the pressure passes, they replay everything they said and regret it. Now picture someone else in the same situation. Same stress, same stakes, same chaos. But their breathing stays slow, their shoulders stay relaxed, their tone stays grounded, their decisions remain intentional. They do not mirror the chaos, they counter it. Leadership begins the moment you refuse to match the pressure around you. Or imagine a firefighter entering a burning building. The flames roar, the heat intensifies. The environment is unpredictable. But trained firefighters don't rush blindly. They pause, they orient, they breathe, they lead their body so their body doesn't lead them. That pause is not hesitation, it's strategy. That breath is not weakness, it's control. Most people never learn this skill. They rush when they should pause. They speak when they should breathe. They react when they should assess. They collapse inward instead of anchoring down. To lead yourself under pressure, you need a system that works in real time, not theories, not motivation, not philosophy. A system. Start with CRM Center. Acknowledge, limit, move. Center yourself physically. Put both feet on the ground. Roll your shoulders back. Slow your inhale. A physical reset creates a mental reset. Americans underestimate posture, but your body is the first tool you must command under pressure. Acknowledge what's happening internally. Say to yourself, this is pressure, not this is a disaster, not this is too much, just pressure. Naming it strips away panic. It turns the unknown into something you can manage. Limit the moment. Pressure makes everything feel bigger than it is. Shrink the moment. Ask, what's the next small step? Not the whole problem. Just the next action. Move with intention. One step, one decision, one direction. Action dissolves anxiety. Pressure becomes powerless when you break it into pieces. Then practice micro resets. When overwhelm spikes, pause for just 5 seconds. Inhale, exhale, lower your shoulders. Return your mind to center. These micro resets prevent emotional spirals before they begin. You don't need 10 minutes. You need 5 seconds of authority. Next, decide before the moment. Pre-decide your standards. Pre-decide your tone. Pre-decide your response. High-pressure performers don't rely on improvisation. They rely on preparation. You do not rise to pressure. You rise to the level of your training. Preparedness feels like confidence in moments where confidence usually disappears. And when pressure hits, speak slower. People who panic speed up. People who lead slow down. The fastest way to regain control is to reduce your pace. Slow speech drops your heart rate. Slow speech stabilizes your nervous system. Slow speech communicates authority to others and to yourself. Protect your attention. Pressure tries to pull it in all directions. Bring it back to one thread. What matters now? Not what might happen. Not what people think. Not every possible outcome. Just the one thing in front of you. Focus is the antidote to overwhelm. And if your emotional impulse flares under pressure, don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Observe it. Let it pass. The moment you try to suppress it, it grows. The moment you observe it, it loses control. Pressure also tests your boundaries. People will project their urgency onto you, their panic, their expectations. You must refuse to absorb what isn't yours. Pressure is contagious, but so is composure. You must choose which one you spread. Now ask yourself the questions that reveal how pressure influences your life. What situations trigger my loss of control the fastest? When pressure rises, do I react from identity or fear? If I slowed down in pressure instead of speeding up, how would my life change? These questions expose the moments where you surrender authority. They show you the cracks in your emotional structure. They reveal the patterns that collapse under stress. But once you see them, you can rebuild, and you can rebuild stronger than before. When you learn to lead yourself under pressure, everything changes. You speak differently. You decide differently. You show up differently. You become someone people trust, not because you're loud, but because you're steady. A steady human is rare, and rare becomes powerful. Your presence becomes weight. Your calm becomes influence. Your responses become respected. Pressure respects those who do not fear it. In the end, leadership isn't about leading others. It starts with leading yourself, especially in the moments when everything feels heavy, urgent, or uncertain. Because the truth is simple. Stay calm under pressure, and you stay in command of your life. Chapter 9. Protect your energy. Your energy is your real currency, and most people spend it carelessly. Every day, people give away their energy to things that don't matter. Arguments they didn't need to join. People who drain them. Stress they didn't create. Tasks that don't align with their goals, and emotional baggage that isn't theirs to carry. By noon, they feel exhausted. By evening, they feel defeated. And they think this is normal. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you're leaking. This is a uniquely American struggle. Overwork, overstimulation, overcommitment, and overexposure. Too many inputs, too many expectations, too many people pulling at the same time. The silent pain is that nobody teaches you how to protect your energy, how to preserve your internal power from a world constantly trying to drain it. But the truth is sharp. Energy is not limitless. Protect it or lose it. A strong mind becomes weak if the energy behind it disappears. A strong plan becomes impossible if the energy to execute it fades. A strong identity falls apart when your internal battery is empty. Protecting your energy isn't optional. It is the foundation of every powerful life. Picture someone who wakes up already overwhelmed. Their day begins with instant demands, messages, notifications, obligations. Their energy is scattered before they even step outside. They carry emotional weight from yesterday, guilt from last week, and pressure from tomorrow. No wonder they feel drained. They are living with no boundaries. Now picture someone else. Same job, same life, same responsibilities. But they guard their energy like it's gold. They don't jump into chaos. They don't say yes to everything. They don't absorb what isn't theirs. Their energy is clean, focused, intentional. A protected mind becomes a powerful one. Or imagine a phone with dozens of apps running in the background. Nothing seems wrong until the battery drains rapidly. That's exactly how most people live. They keep emotional tabs open, old grudges, unfinished tasks, people-pleasing, resentment, guilt, constant comparison, unspoken stress, digital noise. Energy drains quietly until nothing is left. To protect your energy, you must build a system, not based on isolation, but on intentional boundaries. Start with an energy audit. Evaluate the people, tasks, and environments that leave you weaker, not stronger. Be brutally honest. Some people drain you because they are chaotic. Some because they are negative. Some because they depend on you more than they depend on themselves. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Then set emotional boundaries. Not walls. Boundaries. Say no without guilt. End conversations that feed chaos. Stop explaining your limits. Stop apologizing for protecting your mental space. Americans struggle with boundaries because they fear being seen as rude, difficult, or selfish. But boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. Protective people don't drain others. Unprotected people drain themselves. Next, reduce your input diet. Limit the emotional noise you consume. Social media, news, gossip, drama, emotional dumping from others. You are not built to carry the world's weight. Curate what enters your mind the way you curate what enters your body. Your mental diet determines your emotional strength. Then master the art of selective access. Not everyone gets your time. Not everyone gets your attention. Not everyone gets your emotional bandwidth. Give your energy to people who respect it. Protect it from those who exploit it. And create physical boundaries as well. Keep your workspace clean. Simplify your home environment. Remove objects that carry emotional weight. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. A clean environment strengthens internal clarity. Another key, stop absorbing other people's emotions. Many people, especially in American work culture, carry the stress of their boss, their co-workers, their clients, their family. They absorb every tone, every mood, every expectation. But you cannot be the emotional container for everyone else. It will destroy your energy. You are responsible for your emotional state, not the world's, and learn to say no without explanation. No is a complete sentence. People who drain you will always want reasons, justifications, or negotiations. Don't offer them. Protecting your energy shouldn't require permission. Finally, schedule solitude, not loneliness. Solitude. Time alone recalibrates your emotional state. It clears your mind. It restores your bandwidth. Americans often avoid solitude because it forces them to face their own thoughts. But solitude is where self-awareness grows. It's where emotional stability begins. Now ask yourself the questions that reveal the truth. Who drains my energy the fastest? What habits take more from me than they give? Where am I giving my energy out of guilt instead of intention? These questions reveal your leaks. They show you where your life feels heavier than it should. They expose the people and patterns you've allowed to drain your power. Because when you protect your energy, everything changes. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotions become lighter. Your decisions become stronger. Your boundaries sharpen. Your confidence rises. Your presence deepens. People will feel the difference. And as your energy becomes more selective, your life becomes more aligned. You stop overcommitting. You stop overstretching. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. You start living from your center, not scattered across 100 directions. A powerful life is not built on unlimited energy. It's built on protected energy. And the moment you understand this, you reclaim control of your pace, your presence, your peace, and your power. Guard what fuels you, and you guard your entire life. Chapter 10. Win in silence, rise in public. If you want unstoppable results, stop announcing your process. Most people talk too much about what they plan to do, what they hope to become, and what goals they're working on. They share updates before they have progress. They reveal intentions before they build discipline. They speak loudly about dreams they've never fully committed to. And with every announcement, their internal power leaks a little more. You don't grow by talking. You grow by doing. This is why so many people remain stuck. Their identity becomes tied to performance rather than progress. They chase applause instead of mastery. They want recognition before completion. And in American culture, where everyone shares everything, the pressure to show your journey can quietly suffocate your actual growth. The truth is simple. Real transformation happens where nobody is watching. Public work is celebrated. Private work is what changes your life. Picture someone who announces every new project, habit, or comeback. They talk big. They post updates. They promise change. But when the excitement fades, so does the execution. They start strong, then disappear. Not because they're incapable, but because they relied on external validation instead of internal commitment. Now picture someone else. They say nothing. They plan quietly. They execute consistently. They build brick by brick, day after day, without broadcasting a single move. And when they finally reveal the result, it speaks louder than any update ever could. Silent work produces loud outcomes, or imagine a seed underground. Nothing visible, no applause, no recognition. But beneath the surface, it's building roots, strengthening, preparing. Growth is silent until it's undeniable. Your life works the same way. The work that matters most happens without noise. To win in silence, you need a system that supports consistency without the need for attention. Start with private goals, not shared goals. Private ones. Write down the 3 things you want most, but don't tell anyone. Protect them. Nurture them. The moment you announce a goal, your brain gets a dopamine reward as if you already achieved something. That false sense of accomplishment kills momentum. Silence protects ambition, then build a quiet grind routine. A daily block where you work with no distractions, no announcements, no updates. You don't share your progress. You don't ask for feedback. You don't seek validation. The work is between you and your standard. Americans often tie their progress to external encouragement. You must disconnect from that entirely. Next, create silent wins. Small victories only you know about, a habit completed, a workout finished, a task done with excellence, a deadline met early. No one else needs to see these wins for them to transform you. Silent wins build self-respect. Then practice delayed exposure. Finish first, announce later. The more you delay sharing, the more powerful the reveal. You strengthen your internal identity. Someone who completes things, someone who finishes what they start. Also protect your environment from dream killers. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. Some people will doubt you. Some will mock you. Some will diminish your goals to protect their comfort. Silence shields you from unnecessary negativity. Not everyone wants you to rise. Not everyone needs to know you're rising. Another key element. Let actions speak louder than explanations. When you improve yourself quietly, the results eventually become too visible to ignore. People will see your discipline without you saying a word. They will see your growth without needing your narrative. You won't need to convince anyone. They'll feel the difference. Now ask yourself the questions that expose why noise has been holding you back. Where have I traded progress for attention? What goals did I announce instead of completing? What could I achieve in 6 months of quiet execution? These questions reveal your patterns. They show you where validation has weakened you. They show you the areas where silence will strengthen you. Because when you build in silence, something powerful happens. Your mind deepens, your discipline increases, your confidence sharpens, your identity solidifies, your life aligns. People begin to treat you differently, not because of what you say, but because of what you've become. They feel the results. They feel your clarity. They feel your consistency. You stop being someone who talks about change and become someone who embodies it. Loud ambition is fragile. Silent execution is unstoppable. And when the results finally appear, when the transformation is visible, when the achievement is real, when the growth is undeniable, your silence will make your success even louder. You don't need publicity to rise. You need consistency. You need discipline. You need privacy. You need quiet strength. In the end, everything comes down to one truth. Win quietly. Shine loudly. Nothing changes until you decide to lead yourself. You've spent the last chapters seeing a different version of life. A life that isn't reactive, chaotic, or controlled by noise, pressure, emotion, or external approval. A life built from clarity, from authority, from silence. And what you choose to do next determines who you become from this moment forward. Mastery isn't an event. Mastery is a direction, and you're standing at the beginning of it. Most people will walk away from this audio feeling inspired for a moment, then slipping back into old patterns. Not because they're weak, but because they never commit. They wait for a dramatic shift. They wait for motivation. They wait for life to feel right. But mastery doesn't arrive suddenly. It grows quietly, slowly, consistently. You don't transform by wishing. You transform by choosing. You choose awareness over noise. You choose stillness over chaos. You choose authority over insecurity. You choose control over impulse. You choose focus over distraction. You choose identity over approval. You choose discipline over comfort. You choose leadership over pressure. You choose energy over exhaustion. And finally, you choose to win in silence. This is not a loud journey. It's an internal one, a personal one, a private one. Picture the version of you 6 months from now, walking with a different pace, speaking with a cleaner tone, deciding from clarity instead of fear, protecting your energy like it's sacred, moving through pressure without losing control, building quietly, rising consistently. That version of you is not mythical. It is built through small, steady decisions made daily. 1 day of discipline changes nothing. 30 days changes your identity. So here is your 72-hour challenge. Simple, sharp, and transformative. For the next 72 hours, live deliberately. No reacting, no rushing, no explaining, no leaking energy, no chasing validation, just 3 days of inner command. You'll feel the difference by hour 6. You'll see the difference by day 2. You'll believe in the difference by day 3, then extend it, another 72 hours, then 7 days, then 30. Then the world begins to treat you differently. People respond differently to someone who leads themselves, and your life will shift quietly at first. Your relationships will improve. Your decisions will sharpen. Your emotions will stabilize. Your focus will deepen. Your results will multiply. And the world won't understand what changed. They won't see the mornings you protected. They won't see the impulses you controlled. They won't see the habits you built in silence. They won't see the discipline you practiced privately. They will only see one thing. You became someone with weight, someone harder to shake, Someone harder to distract, someone harder to manipulate, someone harder to provoke, someone harder to exhaust, someone impossible to ignore. Not because you got louder, but because you got clearer. Not because you proved anything, but because you stopped needing to. Not because you changed the world, but because you changed yourself. This is the quiet becoming, the rise that happens without noise, the transformation that happens without announcement, the power that emerges from the inside out, and it all leads to one final truth. Master your mind, and the rest of your life bows to your direction.